Ma'am Bea, I sent an invitation. I think once you accepted it, we can start. Ma'am Bea, I sent it. Yay!
Ayan. Hey, ma'am.
Okay. Hi. All right. So, thank you, ma'am. So I'll just welcome our viewers for today. So again, everybody, thank you for being able to join us today. I have invited someone who you have been, asking me to kind of talk about a topic on SPED. During my previous Facebook Live, I was trying to answer your questions, but because I did not have really actual experience on teaching SPED, all the answers that I gave you were based on what I heard from them. So finally, we have somebody who was given us her time to first, she will cover some topics because if you remember last time, I've asked you guys to send me questions for someone who is teaching SPED in the US. And then I gathered them and then I sent it to another SPED teacher who's in the US, but she's busy also. And also because of the time difference, she cannot be with us live. And I'm glad that another teacher that I invited is in the Philippines, so we don't have problem with time zone. And she's very generous with her time being with us today because she's a mom to two kids, right? Saturday is like laundry day. If she's doing the laundry, not so mer. Okay, so I just want to tell you something that I personally know about our guest for today. But can you confirm? Can you hear me well, guys? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Somebody, please. Okay, anybody? Can you hear me? You can hear me all right, yeah? Okay, so Ma'am Bea Gonzaga was my batchmate in Orlando. We were actually in the same plane, right, ma'am, from North Carolina to Orlando, because during our time in 2017, the orientation of EPI was held in North Carolina. We were the first batch of Florida teachers. So we had our orientation in North Carolina. And then after the 3-day orientation, we boarded the plane going to Orlando. So I was with them because she's also assigned to teach in the same district as I was teaching also. And I'm very grateful to them, to her family, Sir Mer, her husband, because they let me stay in their apartment when I did not have any apartment yet during that time. I was stressing. My money is, all going out because I haven't really started working yet. I paid for the taxi or what's that, Uber, ma'am? Is there Uber there?
Uber.
Right, Uber, right? Uber or Lyft, yeah? And it would cost me $70 just one way. I was computing if I'm going to spend $70 each time I go from where I used to stay with my friends, also in Orlando, but it's really far from the city. So it was $70 each time. I was like, okay, my money's going to evaporate and I don't have my apartment yet. So I stayed with them, I think for a week or 2 weeks, right, ma'am? Okay, so I will let her introduce herself, guys. Enough of me talking. So the format for today is I'm going to ask her the questions you sent me, and then she will tell us about those. And after her presentation, I'm going to open the floor in case you have any more questions to ask her. Because, yeah, she's been teaching SPED for a while. And she will tell you about that. Okay, Ma'am Bea, go ahead.
Hello, Ma'am Sha. Do not mention about that. Please. Anyway. Good afternoon po, mga kasamang teachers. I will introduce myself as a SPED teacher. But I graduated 2005, taught for a year at a private school. And then I started in public school, DepEd, Batangas. from 2006 to 2012. So I was in Gen Ed for 6 years, and then I started being a SPED. I was taking up bachelor. I took up BEd for my bachelor's degree, and then I took up master's in special education, master MAED SPED, and then I applied as a special education teacher. Then I transferred and started a special education program in our central school. So I worked for about 4 years as a SPED teacher in DepEd. And then in 2017, I tried applying to US with the help of EPI. Okay, it's all free. And then fortunately, I met Ma'am Sharon there. As what she said, yeah, we met in North Carolina and flew at the same plane to Orlando, Florida. So we started at the same year and finished at the same year. Yeah, we're that sweet. So all in all, I have 18 years of teaching experience going to 19 years, and 9 years of them is for special education. Currently, I am a kindergarten teacher back at DepEd and have part-time subjects in college, handling foundation of special and inclusive education for future educators in our hometown.
All right. Thank you, Ma'am Bea. So, guys, just a couple of important things about our guest for today. So, she mentioned that she actually did not start as a SPED teacher at DepEd, right? So, she was teaching, she's an elementary teacher, generalist, for 6 years first, and then she took MAED SPED, right, ma'am?
Yes.
MAED SPED. So, before I ask you the questions they sent me, a couple of things I want to ask. So, ma'am, when you applied to teach in the U.S. through EPI, did you already graduate from your master's degree SPED? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I had my master's degree for special education 2016,
Okay.
and yeah, I graduated 2016, and then I flew to Florida 2017.
Okay. So, ma'am, so does it mean if I got it correct? Does it mean that you did not have like a SPED teaching experience before going to the US? Because
No,
you graduated in 2016
I
and
graduated in
went to the US
2016.
2017.
But since I was taking up special education
Mm-hmm.
when special ed was opened in our district central
Mm-hmm.
school, so I was ranked for special ed and I ranked one, and then I started 2013 to 2017 for special SPED item. I did not start as a special education teacher item in our district. Still, I was a teacher two. I forgot what item was that. If it's teacher one or teacher two
Mm-hmm.
position, and then since I had those units in SPED, I had a position for SPED item for 2 years, 2 to 3 years before I went.
Okay, so I'm sure our teachers who are watching this, they're taking notes because
Kasi
they've
ako
been
sanay
asking me
mamusha.
a lot of
Hindi kasi ako sanay mamusha na English tayo mag-usap.
Yeah, we have to speak English because some of my
Okay.
followers are from, I have lots of followers from Africa,
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah,
No problem.
India, and Latin America. So you know, I wanted this to be in Filipino because most SPED teachers are from the Philippines anyway. But then
No
I'm going to
problem.
post this on my YouTube, and that's going to be open to all my other um, like followers who don't speak Filipino. So yeah, kaya natin to. Okay, and so the first one they asked me, what will make me qualified to teach SPED in the US? So teachers, take note, but this is recorded. Anyway, if you're not available today to watch this live, you can watch it again later on. So yun ma'am ang unang tanong. Again, what will make me qualified to teach SPED in the US?
There could be three qualifications. No, I'm not from an agency or any screening committee to go to the United States. But as far as I know, if you have a bachelor's degree for special education, that would be good. And then it would be strong if you have bachelor's degree in special education plus your teaching experience in special ed. That's great. So if you do not have a master's degree, if you do not have bachelor's in SPED, just like me, I was a BE Ed graduate, and then I took up Masters of Arts in Education for Special Education. I taught SPED for 4 years. I qualified. Another is you could be a graduate of in your bachelor's degree of SPED and master's degree in SPED, but you don't have teaching experience in SPED. Um, I mean, different states and different districts have different standards. You could always try in different districts. So in some districts or in some agencies or in some sponsor companies, you may not qualify, but there are schools that hire directly, charter schools and all that, you may qualify. But to make your qualification stronger, maybe you have experience handling struggling learners in your inclusive ed classroom. You indicate there that you are a teacher in gen ed in an inclusive ed setup, meaning you have a student or a learner with special needs in your gen ed classroom, and you have all those accommodations and you undergo all through those process that special education teacher does.
All right. So teachers, take note of that. Okay. Next question. Are the qualifications to teach SPED different for high school, middle school, and grade school teachers?
Okay, based on my experience, I had as long as you have the teaching license to teach special ed in the US, you are qualified, period. So first, they're gonna look up at your credential, like the FCE, Foreign Credential Evaluation. If if they give you that qualification to have a teaching license to teach special education, I guess you're all good, period. So with me, they granted me a teaching license for special ed from kindergarten to grade 12. So I mean, in Orlando, Florida, mine was K to 12 SPED teacher teaching license. So in New Mexico, it's pre-K to 12. So meaning, if you are a SPED teacher, you can be a teacher from pre-K to um, grade 12 until high school. For all SPED teachers, I guess that would qualify.
All right. Thank you, Ma'am Bea. So I want to reiterate the teaching certificate. So if your visa is J1, guys, you don't have to have the certificate before going to the US. It will be arranged when you are already there. And actually, the certification in Florida, if you're J1, will be the same, whatever your major is. Because Ma'am Bea and I, our certifications the same from PK through 12, right? So yeah, so that's something that's important. But like what she said, she actually also earned her certificate to teach in New Mexico, right? And same grade level, so it means she could teach, across levels. And maybe eventually in another time we can ask her if she's also willing to talk about how did she get the Mexico teaching license, because I know you got it when you're already here in the Philippines, ma'am, right?
I started
Oh,
applying in US,
while
but
you were
I got the
there.
license. Yeah, but I got the license here. So
Oh, okay.
they granted me the teaching license when I was already here.
All right. So next, ma'am, third question. If my bachelor's,
let me
okay,
clarify.
sure.
They can always apply from here, and they could get the teaching license from here,
Oh
with
yeah, okay.
like in New Mexico.
Okay, that's true. Because you can also apply for teaching license from your home country while you're in your home country for different states in the US, right? Am I correct, ma'am?
Yes.
But like she already mentioned that every state they kind of have different, you know, like requirements. All right. So question number um, 3. Although you kind of already touched this earlier, I just want to ask this again. If my bachelor's degree is not SPED, okay? If my bachelor's degree is not SPED, what can I do to be qualified to teach SPED?
Take up an MA in SPED. So you have to take. I don't think just if you only take units, that would give you a strong qualification. So I encourage you to finish it, and then so when you get your foreign credential evaluation, it will all be good to qualify. And then have a teaching experience in special ed, so it will be stronger. Again, in every district, schools, states, they differ. So some states could make you qualified, some states may not.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. But so again, guys, there are ways to make your qualifications even, you know, stronger or what do you call this? You're to be more qualified compared to the other applicants because you have to consider that you're not the only applicant. Philippines is not the only source of teachers for US. So there's high competition when it comes to applying as a teacher in the US. So you want to have that edge against the other applicants. So mom said if you don't have the bachelor's degree in SPED, you should have, if you want to make your qualification stronger, if you can finish your master's in SPED, that's better. And if you could gain some experience, that's even better, right? So,
Yeah. And during the interview, I guess they look for character. Like these days, they look for your character, your heart, the special education teacher, and our workload tolerance, something like that. Our patience and tolerance for pressure. I guess they're looking for that. It will come up during interviews. Correct, Ma'am Sharon?
what's that again, ma'am?
I mean, your tolerance for pressure and all
Yeah,
that. I guess that would come up during interviews as part of their selection process.
correct. Especially because of
It's
their
just
experience.
Yeah, it's not just you have to make your education or teaching experience strong. I mean, our gestures during the interview, our sincerity, and all that matters to them. I guess our employers are looking for that.
Yeah, I agree, ma'am, because especially they're used to hiring foreign teachers, and the common problem would come up later on, well, the foreign teacher is in the US when they're having a hard time dealing with homesickness, what else, the workload, the challenges with the students. So that is why I think, you know, nowadays they're asking a lot about your how you handle pressure, how you manage classes, right? Because it's
Behavior,
really not uh,
parents, no.
the yeah parents. It's really not about the contents almost anymore, right, ma'am?
Yeah,
It's more on managing the people.
collaboration, building relationships, and all that. When to go to your supervisor, those things are added in, during the hiring process.
Correct.
I mean,
So,
I'm speaking from an experience myself.
yeah, correct. So, by the way, I don't know if you mentioned, but in the U.S., Ma'am Bea was teaching middle school,
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot.
self-contained, right?
Yeah, in Florida from 2017 to 2022, I worked as an ESE, Exceptional Student Education, varying exceptionalities teacher. So I handled Oh my gosh, you would be surprised. I handled grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. At the same time, it's a multi-grade class per period. So I mean, do not do not be shocked or overwhelmed because again, schools, states, districts differ from one another. You could have a better experience than this, but I mean, I enjoyed my 5 years there. It's challenging, but I enjoyed and I loved my experience. So from like for first period, I had unique skills. So meaning all of the IEP goals of the students for reading goal, for math goal, for social, emotional, for independent functioning, those are needed to be addressed during my first period.
Period.
And all those documentations and collection of data and all that kind of assessment for my learners. First period only for 6th, 7th, and 8th. For I handled two types of classes. One is like a low set of students, and the other is a set of more functional and high students. But both have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes. So if I'm teaching, for example, second period math, I have there my math 6, my math 7, and my
Oh
math
no.
8 at the same time with, like, for example, my math 6 are 6 students. My math 7 are 5 students, and my 8th graders are 3 students. Something like that. I reached the maximum of 16 by that time. So something happened. I'm not gonna tell about that. Like, so those are examples, and I also handled science for 6, 7, and 8 at the same time. So we need to have that is totally different from here because that is rotational model. They have access standards that we do not have here for our special ed learners. I mean, I'm talking about Florida standards. So we have access standards that we have to teach the subjects that that are being taught in gen ed, but those are access. So I mean, every day all those grade levels must have an instruction in that particular content area for their grade level, no matter what. And then another one is a social personal class. So more specifically, it's focused on independent functioning and social personal and social emotional domain of our IEPs.
All right. So you heard it from her. I told you, I think in one of my videos or during our live, I told you that the SPED teachers are the most loaded teachers in the US compared to someone like me who's handling, the regular classes. Although, if you're like teaching non-SPED classes like physics, it's possible that you could have, SPED students there, but those are the SPED students who can join the mainstream classes. So I don't know the term for SPED for these kinds of students, but I did have those students with special needs, like special accommodation in my regular physics classes. So you heard from her. She said, so mom does middle school, right? So mom, middle school is what grade levels?
6th, 7th, and 8th grades.
Okay, so 6, 7, 8. So if you're again, this is in Florida. She's right. The system could be different from state to state. Actually, it could also be different from district to district. Okay, so at least you're getting some ideas because there could be similar things. So very important, guys. Take note when you're assigned to teach SPED in the U.S. You probably would be handling several grades in one class, right? So,
Yeah,
Ma'am Bea,
that's
I
right.
remember you even had like a blind student, right? Because I remember you were preparing
Yeah,
Braille.
that's why that's why
Tell us more about this.
that's why my position is ESE, varying exceptionalities. So on my first year in the US, I was like so shocked, 360 degrees turn of my teaching career as a special ed teacher. Okay, why? I had there a student with multiple MDVI. I know you know that. Multiple disability with visual impairment. So there is a vision teacher coming up for him for consultation. Okay, what's happening in the consultation? The teacher comes in for push in, the vision teacher comes out for pull out, so he has a schedule and all that. And then the vision teacher would check out my materials. Is it appropriate for the child or not? If not, she would say something about it and would make her suggestions and all that kind. And then if I cannot make I mean, if I cannot transcribe those braille answers, materials, then the thing is, if I have my material, I have to give it like 2 weeks ahead to the vision teacher. My lesson should be given 2 weeks ahead to the vision teacher so that she can transcribe it. So when I have my class, the student has his own material, whatever I prepare. So it's very nice because they're excellent vision teachers. They can provide all the materials necessary. Imagine for math, they have all those materials for mathematics and for science. They can,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. Okay, and then aside from having vision, MDVI, you see, MDVI, yes, behavior, yes, intellectual disability, he can see. You're like taking care of, oh my gosh, this is like, and um, I'm just being careful. I mean, you'll see when you get there.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
It's the best way to put it.
yeah,
You'll know when you get there.
yeah, and then you could have EBD inside and autism inside, and at the same time, yeah, I have autism, I have EPD and VI at the same time of different grade levels of different subjects with all those IEPs on my head, but it's a team collaboration for IEP. Yeah, something like that. It was my first year. And then, but it's different. I don't know if it will be tackled later on, but like the difference between my job as a teacher and with my other colleagues. So even if
Mm-hmm.
we are in one school, we have different classes, types of classes and duties as teachers. So we have PLCs, professional learning communities in US, but actually during PLCs, it's just like sharing our best practices, what worked well, what did not work well. However, still at the end of the day, you have to figure out for your own class because I'm handling different sets of students. She is handling different sets of students, like severe ones, self-contained, and mine is transitioning. It differs. And then the other student is a support facilitator, something like that. So in school, we have 2 floors. No, one building is
Mm-hmm.
for ESE department only. So in downstairs were 6 teachers that time handling self-contained classes, but I do handle self-contained transitioning. It's quite different to explain. Then upstairs they have like, guess it's like mainstreaming in here,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. So they go to Gen Ed and they have like strategies, like reading strategies and all that kind upstairs. And those are another set of ESC teachers, like 4 of them upstairs, and they go to Gen Ed too. And then, okay, I guess that will be.
All right. So you mentioned earlier like self-contained classes. So this is my question. Can you tell us more about self-contained classes? What does it mean? If the classes are not self-contained, but still a SPED class, what does it mean? So
Uh,
tell us about, self-contained classes.
Let me speak from my experience in Florida because again, I have friends in Las Vegas, New Mexico, Arizona, different states, and they have different special ed setup in their districts and states. Okay, so I'm speaking in Florida. Okay, so but let me start with Philippines. In the Philippines, when we say self-contained classes for special ed, you have this set of students with disabilities under your care or advisory that is self-contained. So when we say transitioning classes here, those are students that are being prepared from 14, like after 14 years old, and they still cannot compel with academics and all that kind to be promoted to gen ed, like kindergarten, first grade to sixth grade, going up. So we move them to transitioning class. So that means we prepare them for life, independence, and all that. I know you all know that because we're talking about Philippines. That is self-contained and transitioning here. Going to my experience in Florida, we are all called self-contained classes, but my colleagues also call it like it's quite confusing for them too, because we are six teachers, and when we put the label or in documentations, everything that like that, we are self-contained. But when we talk ourselves, I am not self-contained. I handle transitioning class. But outside our hallway, they address us at self-contained. All of us are self-contained classes. But let me talk that difference inside our hallway. So teachers who handle self-contained classes in our hallway are handling students with severe disabilities, like level level 3, level 4 type of students. You need to change their diapers. They have,
Oh,
yeah, they have chronic illnesses, and like there are medications, and seizures could come out and all that from time to time that we have to monitor. And they have like 2 to 3 paras. There could be one student, one para in that class with another set of students. So there could be 3 to 1 students, and there could be one-on-one student in that room. That is self-contained. So those are severe ones. Now, I'm also self-contained, but in our hallway, I am addressed as transitioning class. My kids are transitioning classes. So again, here in the Philippines, transitioning class is um, like we're training them for independence and all that kind. So in the US, when we say, in my experience, transitioning class are my students are exchanging um, classes from one teacher to another. So I have a partner, I have a buddy, like Miss Sharon Agawin handles the lower set of kids of 6, 7, and 8, and I handle the like higher set of kids for 6, 7, and 8, and we change kids. So she's the advisor of that set of kids, and I am the advisor of that set of kids. And then our kids move. They have our schedules changes, like okay, for period 2 they go to Mim Sharon, for period 2 they go to me, like that. And then other schedules are different. So in my experience, my transitioning classes go to adaptive PE. So in our district, in our school, I am required to attend and assist in the adaptive PE class. So that's another part, but you're just assisting. Why? Because the adaptive PE teacher are itinerant teachers, they come by. So students are more familiar with us. So there should be special ed teachers like us, ESC teacher there to see what's going on. We know the supports, we know the IEPs of each student, whatever comes out, we need to be there. So that's my transitioning class.
all right.
So
I think, yeah. Just hearing from you, it's really tiring, right? I'm glad I'm teaching physics. Anyway, let's move on. Um,
really,
yeah.
Ma'am
So
Char.
the next question I listed, it came from my followers. Can you give us an idea, although you kind of touched this already somehow with your answer to the previous questions, but can you give us an idea about how teaching SPED in the Philippines is different from that in the US? So, your answer to this will hopefully help our teachers who are going to the US to have the correct expectations, right? To, prepare themselves.
Oh, I love the system of the special ed in the US. I mean, most of
Mhm.
my colleagues do not like it. But as a teacher of a special education in the Philippines, I embraced it with, I just enjoyed the amazing opportunities that America offered me being a special education teacher. Let me share with you amazing opportunities. They, I mean, for me, as a teacher in here, they give priorities to our kids, like funding. Di ba, Ma'am
Mhm.
Sharon?
Yeah,
Funding, special ed kids there have big
yeah,
money for funding. So each student, they have certain amount depending on the level of the student. Um, every material that I need, I just have to come to my administrator and address what do I need in my classroom, and sure, it's given. Like it will be provided. Whatever device you need in your classroom, whatever needs to be fixed, that would be taken care of. They give you your personal budget for your classroom. We have in PLCs, and they ask us what do we need. Like, are there programs that we have to avail, and they're gonna do it for us. I mean, the here here it's just hard to get the resources. They have resources that's needed for every student, because if those are written in their IEPs, those resources, devices, equipments should be there. Kasi ma'am, di ba? Um, ano bang tawag doon? They could sue you or something if
mhm.
it's written in the IEP and the students do not receive those kind of accommodation. So
That's
that's
right.
totally different when it's okay. When it's written in the law, it's a law, period. You cannot break it.
Correct.
So they have to really give it for the child. So that's the difference. Another is the salary.
Okay, let's talk about that. Everybody loves to hear about salary.
Salary is different. So salary, from my
Do you miss
experience,
it? Do you miss it?
oh my god. So for yeah, salary, but my salary as a SPED teacher is not different from gen ed teachers there. Unlike here in the Philippines, our salary is higher than teacher 1 to teacher 3. So there you have the same salary rate for a beginning and whoever teacher, but it differs with the number of teaching you have, right? Number of years of teaching you have, and the education that you have. Correct, Ma'am Sharon? So it only differs with that. Yeah, I mean the salary. That's why I want to go back.
Correct. I miss it a lot. I miss it a lot. Okay. So, ma'am,
What else? What's the question again?
how about, ma'am, the number of students per class in the US compared to in the Philippines?
I mean, also here in the Philippines, it differs.
Mm,
Like the number
okay.
of kids also differs here, and it's the same. The number of students there differs. But if you have severe sets of students, the only difference is they have para professionals or
Okay.
assistant in your classroom. That's the difference. No matter how big your class is, there could be like, okay, 3 students for one para professional, one student for one. I experienced having 3 paraprofessionals in my classroom with 14 students inside. In some states, they have like 6 students with 3 paraprofessionals inside. Maybe those set of students are severe. I don't know. So it differs for the set of
All
students,
right.
depending on
Okay.
what's written on their IEPs.
So, a couple of things. So, that in the US, funding is not a problem. I agree. Lots of resources, and I also agree. about what you said, the IEPs, the accommodations are required by law. So actually, during when you're planning your lesson, because I observe this as a regular class teacher, they're actually looking for an item in my lesson plan about the accommodation. So they want to know if I know if there were students in my class who were supposed to have some accommodations, and it will be in the lesson plan. Say I have, say, two boys that need this and that, and then they want to see in my lesson plan that I'm actually providing the accommodation. So it's really important. So that's coming from me, a regular class teacher. So I'm sure it's more like
Okay,
needed when you're teaching SPED.
I guess, Ma'am Sharon, we are now talking here about the workload. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that
Mm-hmm.
includes the lesson plan. Let me start with lesson planning. So
Okay.
in our school, in Gened, their lesson plans are like they provide the CRMs, curriculum, resource material. And I guess it's made already, and they just have to compile it and add some and talk about it. It's easy, correct, Ma'am Sharon, for Gened?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
since in our hallway we have different sets of kids, varying exceptionalities, our lesson plans differ from one another. I could
Mm-hmm.
have this same subject with another teacher, but the levels of our kids are different. So I have to provide my own lesson plan that cannot be used by another teacher. So again, the lesson plans in Gen Ed, it's like pre-made. They have so-called curriculum resource material.
Yeah.
We also have curriculum resource material called, we call it CRMs, and then from
Mm-hmm.
there modify. It's like a scale of 1 to 4, correct? So with your scales of 1 to 4, you have to reach the target like up to scale 4, correct, Ma'am Sharon?
Yes.
So with us in Gen Ed, our target is scale 3 only. So
Oh, okay.
grade for our 6, 7, and 8 grades, our target is only up to 3. So we could start from scale 1. Don't think you do that. Start from scale 1. I guess you do like hit the target right away for scale 4. So with us, it's helping our students. That's the accommodation that we give. We start from scale 1, something like that, until we hit the scale 3. Well, if it's easier, that's our accommodation. Now, so you talk with your students about your lesson plans and all that because you're like a bunch of teachers for like mathematics, right? With us, since we have different grade levels of students, different varying exceptionalities, my plan could be different than other science teachers. But there are instances that her lesson plans would work for me. My materials could work for her sometimes. We collaborate. So it depends on us if we're gonna use it or trash it, or we will do that. So that's planning. But most of those times we make our own lesson. And accommodations are listed. Yes. On the bottom part, we have to provide what accommodation, who students receive that, what models do you do for that. So they wanna see that. I'm not experienced my administrators looking at my lesson plans at all. They classroom and they just wanna see how you're teaching. They just
Mm-hmm.
see, are the kids engaged? Period. Are they getting the are, are the students being that, and lesson plans, they need that for your formal observation. They want to see your lesson. Correct? Yeah. But
Yes, yeah.
we are required to pass our lesson plans like every Monday. I'm not sure if they look at it when we pass that.
Yeah.
They did not look for our lesson plans. But every Monday, we submit.
Okay. So, for lesson plans, guys, in high school, at my school, we're actually not turning in lesson plans. It's optional. Well, during my first year, I was doing my lesson plan, right? So I'm turning it in every Monday. And then we had like a PLC, ma'am. And then I asked him, hey, have you done your lesson plan already? I was kind of busy. What lesson plan? We're not turning in lesson plan, Mr. Going. So when I realized that my co-teachers were not turning in lesson plans, I stopped doing my lesson plans too. And because I was doing it because, in the Philippines, it's part of the clearance. You should have complete lesson plans. And then they're not even looking for the lesson plan to sign your clearance, so you can get your, last pay stub for the school year, because I think it's like a union thing, teacher union, like they said that you should not require teachers to submit lesson plans. So at my school, it was optional. Maybe the teachers there were were braver. But yeah, but based
Depends
on my
on
experience, after my first year, I stopped. I only did lesson plan because it's required for the formal observation. That's the only time that I would turn in lesson plan. Ma'am Bea, you're actually choppy. I
we're
don't.
in lucky you.
Yes. Okay, ma'am. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next question. Then tell
Hold
us
on. I
if you. Okay. Okay.
want to add. So, just in case you will be assigned in in Florida, aside from plans, we have other paperwork. Like,
Ma'am Bea, you're kind of choppy.
hello,
Pawala-wala, ma'am, yung boses mo. Parang ganyan-ganyan.
hello, can you hear me? Wala.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Ano pa ulit yung question, ma'am?
So, aside from lesson plans, we have other paperworks for
Oh,
special ed in Florida. So, they have, when you have IEP meetings, you have input forms. I experienced having back-to-back IEPs, three IEPs, and some of them are, not your advisory class, only have to, or your subject, but you have most of the time you have to draft the lesson plan. Most, most of from then they have data
ma'am,
collection.
ma'am. Time out, time out. Oh, guys, is she also coming up choppy on your end? Because are you able to hear? Because it could be from my end, my internet connection, because she's coming up as choppy. I could not hear everything. Like, I would hear and not hear and hear again. Yeah, choppy, ma'am. I don't know what's, yeah.
Am I happy?
Yeah,
I'm
yes, ma'am.
happy.
Parang siyang pawala-wala. Ganon.
Let me try to
Bakit kaya?
transfer.
Yes. Sige, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I have listeners from,
Is it more
watchers from
clear?
Cameroon.
Is it
So,
more clear now here?
yes, ma'am.
Clear?
Pasensya na, ma'am. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Better. Ito.
Okay. Let me
Okay.
sit here. Okay, so aside from lesson plans, we, as a special ed teacher, we are in school, we are required to have accommodation logs. Aside from that, what is written in our lesson plan, accommodation logs, and daily data sheets. If your students have BIP, or point sheets and all that, you have to. But again,
So
we
many
have
things.
parents. We have parents in our classroom. ESY services like back-to-back IEPs in a week. So you can have that like 3 to 5 IEPs in a week. That's possible. Again, it's for you to find out when you get there for the rest of the paperworks. But again, in some districts and in some states, they do not ask for those type of paperworks that I had. Some of my friends in other states have no idea with what I'm doing. Some teachers, something like that.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Bea. So, next question. As a SPED teacher in the US, what was for you the most challenging part and what was the most rewarding?
Most, meaning I only have to answer one.
It's up to you. They can be like tied. You're like in the top one, three
Okay.
things are sharing. So, yeah. Most challenging part and then the most rewarding part
I
of
don't
being
want
a
them.
SPED teacher in the US.
I don't want them to back off, Ma'am Sharon.
It's okay. You know what? This, Ma'am Bea, I think this is the my principle. They need to hear the reality, everything, and then so that they can make the right decision. So it's up to them if this information will, turn them off. But it's important for them to be prepared and come to the U.S. with the correct expectations. And like you said, you were clear about it. The experience per teacher may be different. So this is based on your experience in Florida at your school. So it's really up to them, to filter whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, I would list my top one as my most unforgettable.
Okay.
Okay, he was not my student, but I was dragged down the hallway with one, two, three. He beat me thrice, one, two, three portions of my head, and broke my. I mean, I went back and forth to the doctor just because I felt like it's broken.
Oh
No, it's
no.
not. So I was injured, for short.
Mhm.
I was attacked by a student from upstairs, not my student. He just saw me down the hallway and got me as the target.
No.
Yeah. So and the rest are history, something like that. It was traumatic. I came in Florida 27 August of 2017, and it happened November 9, 2017.
You remember the date.
You want to know the exact time? Just kidding. And and then I was telling my administrators, no, I need to go back to my home country. I did not come to America to die. I'm going home now. Yeah, that's true. And then another challenging, I guess this is the most. I was almost um nag-guidance ako. Tama ba 'yun?
Mhm.
Nag-guidance ako. I was almost recommended for suspension. Was that suspension? To
Mm.
to the Philippines, back to the Philippines for an, what do you call that? For an I was alleged. Is it correct? The right word?
Alleged, yeah.
I was alleged for having my kids to pray,
Uh-huh.
which did not happen at all. I guess I was framed somebody, blah blah blah, part of racial discrimination. I don't know. Like in the beginning, I experienced that, but again, that was very hard because I was told by my administrators you cannot talk to anyone about this, that you are dealing with this incident only with your husband, period. So
Mhm.
I don't know if they know about it, my colleagues and students. I guess they were making interviews and all that. Until I received directives to just refrain from anything of my expression of my faith. And then from there, I never showed any cross or something, even if
Uh-huh.
even if my colleagues were saying like, I mean like I see them wearing cross and all that. I said, you can wear that, yeah. No, you can. But again, I did not do that even if I see them. And
Just to
then
be safe, right? Just to be
yeah,
safe.
um, and then before I went home, my first AP who handled that case, because this is what they told me. This is not under our care because somebody has filed an incident report about this. I'm sorry, Miss Gonzaga. We have to level this up to the superintendent because it's da 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 da. So it depends on the decision of the superintendent. See, and I've waited for the directives to come, and I was blamed by my colleague. Okay, I wanna recommend this. She was inviting me to join the union and I did not. So that time I did not have the union. I was not a member of the union. And then from that incident, I joined the union and I was paying like $29 per payday.
Mm-hmm.
just so I have a protection. If things like that comes out, there should be someone from the union to stand by me, speak for me when I need it, because they know my rights. And that time, I did not know about my rights, something like that. And then I I saw my first AP who handled that case before I went home. We met. She was not my assistant principal anymore for 4 years, and I asked her, Miss, blah 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 blah, who did this? Da 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 da. And then why didn't you send me back to the Philippines? She said, I told the superintendent and I had to defend you because you're the kind of teacher, this, and that. So I told the superintendent that I cannot reprimand my teacher for her lack of knowledge about our culture. And she was being herself with our culture without knowing anything about that. So I could not reprimand her for that. So that's the period that ends the case.
Mm-hmm.
That ended the case. So that's it. That I guess that's the most challenging part. I don't know. I did not even tell you guys, right? My batchmates. So when I received already that it's all done, finished, and settled, I shared it with you guys, right? But
Mm-hmm.
before, with all those struggles, I was just on my own. Even if I tell it to my husband and my family here, they cannot do anything with us. It's just myself that who needs to deal with it. I needed to do it for myself, like stand by there, para kung lumalakad na pugot ang ulo, sino yung kaaway mo, something like that. So, but I left the school and I felt the love of everyone. So, ganun naman, nung umalis naman ako, in fairness naman, I love my colleagues, and they love them, and I felt that love naman before I left. Another most challenging part in the beginning is the communication. It's it's horrible. Like they invited me for lunch on my first day, and they were like talking about and using different kinds of idioms. And and they were like telling Gonzaga, "You're not eating yet." Blah, blah. How could I eat? I was like processing what they're talking about, and I cannot understand anything. They were like blah, 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 something like that. It sounds like that, and I feel bad that I cannot understand what they're talking about. I don't want them to feel like, oh, they hired someone who does not know anything at all. It's like embarrassing. And then and then when I went in front of the kids, I would say something, and they were like, "What? Oh, did you say this or that?" And I would explain it. But the most difficult part is like, they would say something, and I would say like, "Can you say that again?"
Yeah.
And then the student will repeat it, and I was like, "Pardon?" and then and then okay, sorry. Can you say it slowly? And then the student is like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah.
Something like
Same
that. So
experience.
they oh and they got so frustrated, and they will tell it to other adults like, oh, she just cannot understand us, it's hard, and they are ESE kids. So the struggle, like, I feel bad that they're ESE kids and they struggle with the communication, and I struggle. And then, through time, I mean you will get to it. You will
Yeah,
get
that's
used to
right.
it. Like,
That's right.
oh,
I
like
agree.
I will only hear like the rest of what they're saying, and then, oh, that means this and that, something like that.
Okay. That's why I want to share something. It's the same problem because of my ears weren't used to how fast they were speaking. If they would speak slowly, those are English words, you can understand them, right? So there was one time two students came to me and then they were asking me about something. I honestly could not understand. But I was shy to ask them to repeat because I already told them, can you say that again? So, and then I just pretended I understood them. And so I said yes, right? But actually, I did not know what they were asking me. I just said yes. I said, yeah, yeah. And then they were still there standing as if they're waiting for me to do something. And I asked them, why are you still here? Miss, you said yes. Say, why? What did you ask me? We were asking if you have a printer in your office. We want to print something. And then I told them, no, I don't have a printer. But why did you say yes? Yeah, that's just one of the
Oh,
many
I could
examples.
I could
Yeah.
relate on that, Ma'am Sharon. I was like, there were like group of Filipino teachers in the US who told me like they just said yes, yes, yes. So I did the same. Like even if I don't understand, I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, something like that. And then they were like, look at each other. They're like, and again, there were adults in my classroom, and until like such time after like 10 months, blah blah blah, they they go straight to my face and told like, Gonzaga, listen, come here. Do you really understand when the students say this and that, and then you say yes? I said like, no. So you're just saying, you're just nodding for yeah, yeah. Like, because they were, because that time they were like my friends already.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but before that, I was like a pretender. Like I was understand even if not. And
Yeah.
then
Pretend, pretend.
when I felt like my kids already liked and loved me, that was the time like, and they got frustrated. I was like, I had to be real and truthful to them. So like,
Yeah.
listen guys, okay, makinig kayong lahat sa akin. Kapag kayo ay pumunta sa Pilipinas, alam nyo ba, mahihirapan din kayo. Katulad ng paghihirap na dinadanas ko ngayon para intindihin kayo. So sinabi ko talaga yan sa I told that to them. They were like, what? What? Yeah, and they were like laughing. I was like, okay. And I translated it to them. You see, that struggle that you're experiencing when I was speaking in my language, that's my struggle every time talking to you. Remember, guys, I am from a different country. They're like school students. I'm from a different country. I grew up speaking Filipino at all. I only speak English in my classroom, and most of my students cannot understand pure English at all, so I have to translate it most of the time too. So this is my really first time to talk with foreigners, with other speaking languages,
Mhm.
other nations speaking English at all, like having this conversation with you. And I was like, I only hear you like, whoa, 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 I'm sorry, this is me. And I'm like, the thing that, I mean, I'm trying to help you. Can you try to help me? Please. How? Just speak slowly. And then every time it happens that they cannot understand me, and then there would like one, two, three students who would come out and like, guys, remember, speak slowly. Remember, she's from another country. Be nice. Something
That's
like that.
right.
So,
I agree.
and
I
they're like
agree.
nice. They're like nice. There would be kids who would stand out for you, and then
Mhm.
they're, oh yeah, right. I'm sorry, Miss Gonzaga. Something like that.
That's true. So teachers, they would appreciate your honesty and authenticity. If you're struggling with something, you can tell them, right? And they would understand you. I also had a time when I had to tell them exactly how I am, receiving the communication from them. So thank you, ma'am. Some funny
And then from
moments
then on,
when, yeah,
Ma'am Sharon, I just make it like some I was making it like silly jokes when I don't understand them, and they just love. Unlike in the beginning, it was like from frustration in the beginning. Then, like on our third, fourth, fifth year, it was like throwing them silly jokes when I don't
mm.
understand them, and they cannot understand me.
How about um you mentioned about the paraprofessionals that are in the classroom with you. How many did you have? How many
It dep-
paraprofessionals did you have in your classroom?
I mean, paraprofessionals, the number of paraprofessionals in my room differ in the number
Mm.
of students that I have, but not the number of students. It depends on students' IEPs in
Okay.
my roster. Like if there are students who have 1-to-1, that's one para for one student. If I have students
Okay.
who are 3-to-1, that is one para for the three students. And then I have to be the overlook for everybody, even if they have adults with them. I still have to be the manager of the classroom.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Do the paraprofessionals help with lesson planning?
No,
Okay.
they cannot do that. They can help with checking of papers,
All
something
right.
like that. Assisting the kids,
All right.
but you cannot have them prepare materials for the kids.
Um,
You can have them. You can send them to for photocopying of materials, helping you um, decorate your classroom, what are the materials needed by the students during instructional time, like the groupings and all that. They cannot even do instruction actually, but it depends. Like if you're good friends and getting along with your paras, you I mean they give you favor, like, okay, I can do this, something like that.
all right.
But
Thank you,
if
Ma'am
your
Bea.
yeah, if your
Yeah.
para is you do not have a good relationship with your para, you're gonna be in hell. Sorry.
Uh, correct. So, as for teachers, make sure that you have good relationship with your paraprofessionals inside because you will be with them every day. So,
Yeah,
if you're not
appreciate
in
them.
good, yeah,
The best
show your
the best that I can say
appreciation,
is
right?
always appreciate every single or little thing that they do not that they do, and we do not reject what they offer, what they do. We have to be careful with rejections or
Mm-hmm.
correcting them. Sometimes we just have to tame our tongue and bring it out in a different it depends on how we formulate our ideas, like
Yeah.
they might
All right.
misinterpret it because we are more on grammar. Remember, sometimes we do not mean it, but they're very sensitive. It
Correct.
means differently. Sometimes it happens.
Correct, because we are sometimes thinking about one thing and it will come out as a different thing. And sometimes we would ask ourselves, did I say something wrong? Because some things are basically cultural, right? So,
Culture.
Ma'am Bea, so far I'm done asking you questions that are
Yay!
from my list. Yeah, thank you so much for answering, for giving us your time. So, um, you can stay with us if you want to, and maybe because there are some questions that are for, SPED.
Can you ask them, I'm Sharon, and then
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just answer it.
Okay, okay. So, guys, we're now done with the presentation from our guest. Okay, let's give a round of applause. Woo! By the way, guys,
Sana.
Mom Bea
Sana
Gonzalo
makatulong.
was recognized by EPI as one of the excellent, was it outstanding cultural exchange teacher? Was that the title? I forgot.
Um, do I have to say that?
Yeah, I already.
It's done, Ma'am Sharon.
Okay, but she got that award. So anyway, what I'm saying is EPI recognizes teachers, even when they're no longer in the U.S. because they're still under kind of like they maintain contacts with their teachers, with their alumna, and so yeah. I'm now going to look at the comment sections for questions. All right, so